Human mechanic finds ancient starship in hangar. A note changes everything. The hangar was quiet. Dust drifted in the pale light of the distant stars that shone through cracked windows. It smelled of metal, oil, and age. A combination that made the human mechanic, alone in the vast spaceport, feel at home. He moved carefully, boots echoing softly against the concrete floor, passing rows of broken ships, half-dismantled engines. This was not a place for glory. It was a place for work, for fixing what others had abandoned. His name did not matter. To most people in the colony, he was just the mechanic, skilled enough to keep the older ships running, overlooked by the newer engineers who dealt with sleek spacecraft from the core worlds. But today, boredom sat heavy in his chest. Another day of repairs, another day of metal that groaned and hissed, waiting for him to breathe life into it. He wiped his hands on a rag and glanced around the hangar. The main bay had been cleared decades ago, leaving empty space. Yet something about the far corner drew his attention. Something hidden behind a pile of scaffolding, mostly ignored because it didn't belong to any current catalog or shipment. His curiosity, sharper than most, nudged him forward. The closer he got, the more he realized it was a ship. But not like any he had seen before. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the colony's standard freighters, sleek but old, with a surface that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. Strange markings ran along its hull, engraved so perfectly it looked almost alive. Unlike the familiar ships made for efficiency, this one seemed designed to inspire awe or fear. He circled the ship slowly, gloves brushing against the cold metal. His heart beat faster. Years of experience told him this was not just a relic. It was something else, something important. A thrill ran through him. Mechanics like him were not supposed to find things like this. Not alone, not in a forgotten hangar. As he moved toward a small hatch, he noticed a thin layer of dust over the surface, yet a strange warmth radiated from certain panels, almost as if the ship were waiting for him. He bent down and touched the edge of the hatch. The metal hummed faintly under his fingers, a vibration so subtle he almost missed it. Then he saw it, a small metallic envelope tucked into a groove by the hatch. He pulled it out carefully. It was light, nothing more than a piece of folded metal with a note inside. The note was old, edges slightly worn, but the writing was clear. "Only a human can awaken her." He stared at the words, heart pounding. "Her?" he whispered. The hangar seemed suddenly colder, emptier, yet alive. The idea that this ship had been waiting for him, or someone like him, was both frightening and exhilarating. He set the note down on a nearby crate and started examining the hatch. It wasn't locked in any conventional sense. No keys, no codes. It required understanding, finesse, something a human could provide that machines or aliens might not. The moment he touched the controls, faint lights flickered along the hull. Panels slid open, revealing compartments of advanced technology he could hardly identify. Mechanics from the core worlds would have given up assuming the ship was beyond repair. But he was human. He could improvise. He could feel the rhythm of machinery, understand its logic without needing instructions. And the ship responded, as if recognizing him. Hours passed unnoticed. He connected circuits, traced lines of alien power conduits, and slowly, the ship's dormant systems began to hum. At first, it was just a low vibration, almost like the purring of a cat. Then lights pulsed gently along the hull. He stepped back, awestruck. The ship was alive. A sudden series of projections flickered in the air. Symbols, diagrams, and maps that floated above the control panel like they had a mind of their own. They were ancient, not made for him, yet somehow he understood their purpose. It was navigation, communication, history, all in a language that seemed familiar, despite being alien. He didn't know how long he had been at it when he realized the ship was watching him. Not with eyes, not with cameras, but with awareness. Panels moved to accommodate his hands. Lights brightened as if responding to his excitement. It was alive, and it was curious. Then the AI spoke. Not in words at first, but a thought, a presence that brushed against his mind. "Human, you are different." He froze. "What?" he stammered. "I am dormant no longer," it said. "You are the one I was waiting for." He laughed nervously, thinking it was a trick of the projection systems, but the vibrations, the movements, the energy, everything in the ship confirmed it was true. The AI continued, explaining that the ship had been built by an ancient civilization, wiped out long before humans had spread among the stars. This civilization had designed the Starship with one purpose: to wait for a human to awaken it, to pilot it when the galaxy required it most. He felt a mixture of pride and fear. Humans had always been underestimated, dismissed as primitive by more advanced species. Yet here he was, standing before a relic of a lost civilization, being recognized as the only one capable of handling it. The weight of that thought pressed down on him, but he embraced it. Hours stretched into night. The hangar's silence was filled with the hum of systems awakening, with projections dancing across walls, and with the quiet excitement of a human discovering something that even centuries of alien intelligence had failed to grasp. He worked methodically, carefully, improvising where instructions were missing. Every success caused the ship to respond more vividly, lights flickering in patterns that almost resembled joy. He explored more compartments. Inside one, he found strange containers of energy cells, unlike any fuel known to the colony. Another revealed panels of controls that responded only to human touch. The ship was built to integrate with human thought, intuition, and creativity. It rejected tools, codes, or programming that weren't human. By the time he stepped back to rest, the note he had found earlier seemed almost prophetic. Only a human can awaken her. He now understood its meaning fully. He was not just repairing a ship. He was awakening a guardian, a weapon, a voyager, something the galaxy had not seen in millions of years. He wondered why it had been hidden in this forgotten hangar. Perhaps it was waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone underestimated, overlooked, but capable. Perhaps it had known humanity's potential before humans even realized it. As he sat on a crate rubbing grease from his hands, he noticed movement outside the hangar. Shadows flickered beyond the walls. He was alone here, yes, but not unseen. Eyes, curious, calculating, watched the human mechanic at work, perhaps from rival species, perhaps from neighboring colonies. And perhaps the galaxy itself was beginning to pay attention to humanity in a way it never had before. The mechanic didn't know what the future held. All he knew was that the Starship was alive, aware, and waiting. And he, the human who had been dismissed, underestimated, overlooked, was its key. For the first time in his life, he felt a thrill of possibility that was bigger than any repair job, bigger than any freighter flight, bigger than any routine day in the colony. This was discovery. This was destiny. This was humanity proving itself in a galaxy that had never believed in it. And as the hangar lights flickered one last time, the Starship pulsed gently, as if breathing, waiting, and preparing for the moment when the human would decide to take the first step into a story far greater than anyone had ever imagined. The note remained on the crate, simple, direct, and now terrifying in its clarity. "Only a human can awaken her," the mechanic smiled, heart pounding. "Then I guess I'm the one," he whispered. And in the silence of the hangar, the ancient Starship stirred. The hangar was no longer quiet. The soft hum of the Starship had grown into a rhythm that seemed alive, almost breathing. Lights traced along the hull, responding to the mechanic's movements, pulsing like a heartbeat. Each flicker told him something he could not fully understand yet, and the projections above the control panel danced in complex patterns. The mechanic wiped his hands and approached the main console again. He studied the panels, pressing buttons cautiously, trying to trace circuits and understand the flow of energy. The alien technology was advanced, yet it had a strange elegance. Every component seemed designed for someone who could improvise, think quickly, and feel the ship rather than just follow instructions. That someone was him, a human. He had spent hours deciphering parts of the Starship, and now the AI's presence was stronger, more focused. "Human," it said, voiced like a distant echo in his mind. "You have begun." but much remains hidden. My memory is incomplete. To awaken fully, you must understand." The mechanic frowned.
"Understand what?" he asked aloud. "History," the AI replied.
"And purpose. The galaxy must know the human touch." He leaned closer to the holographic projection that had appeared above the main console. The images shifted rapidly. Cities floating above oceans of energy, starships moving in patterns that defied conventional physics, and beings unlike any he had seen. Their forms were graceful yet efficient, alien in every sense. The AI explained that they were the creators of the Starship, a civilization older than most known star systems. They had vanished thousands of years ago, destroyed by forces so powerful that no species could have withstood them, except perhaps humans, if given the right tools. The mechanic's fingers traced the projections instinctively. Even though he could not read the language fully, patterns made sense to him. He noticed connections, sequences, and alignments. He realized that the ship was built to respond to creativity, not logic alone. Humans were unique in this way, the AI said. Our intuition could solve what rigid programs could not. Ours melted into one another. He began activating subsystems one by one. Doors slid open, revealing more hidden compartments filled with technology that no one had seen for centuries. Tools, energy cores, navigation arrays, and weapons systems all dormant, all waiting for a human to awaken them. Outside the hangar, the colony slept, unaware of the events unfolding. But not everything was asleep. Sensors, long abandoned, picked up unusual energy readings. A few curious eyes from neighboring species noticed flickers of light on the hangar roof. They dismissed it at first, assuming humans could never command such technology. Underestimation was the galaxy's mistake. The mechanic's curiosity grew bolder. He opened a larger panel revealing a star map unlike any he had seen. It showed sectors of the galaxy that were no longer charted, with paths marked in a way that suggested knowledge of forces, currents, and dangers invisible to modern scanners. The AI spoke again. "This is my navigation memory. The creators foresaw the rise of humans. They left this for you, for one who can think beyond calculation. You are the key to what comes next." The mechanic's pulse quickened. "What comes next?" he asked. "Threats," the AI replied. "Enemies that destroyed my creators are returning." "They will not stop. You must prepare." For a moment, the mechanic felt fear. The stories of ancient destroyers had been dismissed as myths, warnings told to keep lesser species humble. But now he understood. This was real. The galaxy was dangerous, and humans had been underestimated. Yet fear quickly turned into determination. Humans had always survived impossible odds. They had adapted, created, and overcome challenges that others thought insurmountable. And now, armed with this starship and its ancient knowledge, he was ready to face what others could not. He began running tests, cautiously at first. He calibrated energy flows, monitored the AI's responses, and experimented with controls. Every move he made seemed to bring the ship further to life. Panels extended, compartments opened automatically, and systems aligned themselves to his touch. It was as if the ship recognized him not just as a pilot, but as a human capable of thought, creativity, and intuition. During a break, he sat on a crate staring at the note he had found. Only a human can awaken her. Its truth sank in deeper now. The Starship was not just a machine. It was a partner, an entity designed to work in harmony with humanity. No alien, no automated system could have done what he was doing. Only a human could understand the subtle rhythms, anticipate the hidden patterns, and awaken her fully. Suddenly, the hangar doors hissed as they slid open. A group of local engineers, curious about the energy spikes, had arrived. They froze at the sight of the Starship, jaws slack.
"What is that?"
one whispered. The mechanic didn't answer. He gestured toward the ship. A faint light traced the contours, illuminating symbols and markings. The projections danced faster, responding to his presence. The AI spoke aloud, for the first time in words that could be heard by anyone nearby. Humans are capable of more than you imagine. I am awake because of them." The engineers exchanged glances. Whispers of disbelief spread. Aliens had long regarded humans as simple, predictable, and weak. Yet here was proof to the contrary, a human commanding technology that had baffled civilizations for centuries. The mechanic felt a thrill he had never known. This was bigger than any repair, any flight, any task he had ever undertaken. This was discovery, awakening, and proof of humanity's potential. But not all attention was benign. Sensors outside the colony detected unusual activity. A nearby system, home to a species that had historically dismissed humans as unworthy, picked up energy signatures from the hangar. Curiosity turned to caution. Reports reached their fleet commanders, who scoffed at the idea that humans could interact with ancient, unknown technology. Yet in quiet strategy rooms, some considered the possibility. Perhaps humans were unpredictable in ways even they could not calculate. Meanwhile, the mechanic continued. He discovered a small chamber within the Starship, sealed for millennia. Inside were objects of alien craftsmanship, tools, devices, and fragments of the civilization's history. The AI guided him, translating patterns into understandable concepts. Each object told a story of creativity, adaptation, and foresight. The creators had known that one day a species like humanity would rise to a challenge they themselves could not face. One object caught his attention, a crystal-like orb that pulsed softly. When he touched it, the AI responded immediately. That is the core of strategy. It calculates probabilities, outcomes, and scenarios, but only a human can interpret and act upon them. You must train with it, learn it, trust your instincts. Days passed. The mechanic immersed himself in learning the ship's secrets, guided by the AI. He slept little, ate little, driven by curiosity and purpose. With every test flight inside the hangar, he discovered new abilities: navigation that bent conventional physics, weaponry that could respond to thought rather than command, shields that adjusted in real time to threats, and energy systems that healed and adapted. It was exhausting, exhilarating, and terrifying. But above all, it was proof. Humans were capable of things no one else could do. And the AI reinforced this truth constantly. Finally, as the second week drew to a close, the mechanic sat in the control chair, hands hovering above the panels. He had mastered enough to attempt something dangerous: activating the Starship's propulsion systems. The hangar trembled lightly as energy coursed through the ship. The AI spoke softly, almost reverently. "You are ready, but beware. The galaxy watches. Threats approach. Allies are rare. Trust yourself, human." He nodded. Fear and excitement mingled. Outside, sensors picked up strange signals. Unknown vessels moving closer to the colony. Curiosity and caution in equal measure. The galaxy was beginning to notice humanity. And humans, underestimated for so long, were about to demonstrate why they could not be ignored. The mechanic adjusted the controls carefully. The Starship responded instantly, rising slightly above the hangar floor, systems humming with life. The projections flared, displaying galaxies, sectors, and fleets. The AI spoke again, guiding him through maneuvers, showing him patterns of potential threats and safe paths. And then, unexpectedly, a small message appeared on one of the holographic panels, a warning left by the creators of the ship from millennia past. It read, "The destroyers return. Only humans can face what comes next." The mechanic's eyes widened. This was no longer just discovery. This was preparation for a challenge that had killed entire civilizations. And yet, despite the danger, despite the unknown, he felt a surge of pride and determination. Humans had always survived against impossible odds. And now, armed with this ancient starship, they would face the galaxy with creativity, courage, and resilience. He leaned back in the chair, heart racing. The hangar was alive with the hum of power, the glow of ancient technology, and the quiet voice of an AI that had waited thousands of years for him. He smiled, thinking of the words he had read long ago. Only a human can awaken her. Now he understood fully. Not just the ship, not just the AI, but humanity itself. They were underestimated. They were dismissed. They were overlooked. And that was exactly why they would succeed. The galaxy would soon learn the truth. Humans were not weak, not simple, not predictable. Humans were capable of greatness, and they were about to prove it. And somewhere beyond the hangar, unseen, curiosity began to stir among those who had dismissed humanity for centuries. The hangar doors shivered under the hum of energy. The starship had fully awakened, floating slightly above the floor, glowing with ancient power. Its panels glimmered, symbols pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. Outside sensors picked up multiple signatures approaching the colony. Ships, sleek and intimidating, carried the insignia of a species that had long dismissed humanity as primitive. They were curious, cautious, but confident that humans could not match their technology. The mechanic's hands hovered over the controls. Fear and excitement tangled in his chest, but he focused. This was what he had been preparing for, even if he did not fully understand it yet. He had the AI, the Starship, and something the galaxy had underestimated for centuries: human creativity. Human. The AI spoke softly. They are approaching. They will test you. Do not underestimate them. Yet, you have something they cannot predict: instinct. The mechanic nodded. He had learned from the ship's projections, from the AI's guidance, and from hours of improvisation. He understood that this moment was a test, and humans thrived under challenge. Outside, the first enemy ships appeared in the colony's sensor grid. They were advanced, armed, and fast, expecting an easy target. They scanned the hangar and its surroundings, detecting the immense energy signature of the ancient starship. The commanders exchanged signals, dismissive of the human presence. "Do they even realize what we face?" one alien whispered to another, tone amused. "This is a human colony. Weak, insignificant." The mechanic ignored them. He initiated the starship's systems, engaging energy flows and defensive mechanisms. Lights traced along the hull, shields glimmered into existence, and the ship's hull seemed to pulse in anticipation. The AI spoke again. "They calculate based on patterns. They will try to predict your actions." "But humans are unpredictable." The mechanic grinned. He had no grand strategy, no pre-programmed tactics. He would rely on improvisation, instinct, and the strange intuition the ship seemed to recognize in him. As the first enemy ship approached, it unleashed a scanning pulse. The starship responded instantly, adapting its shields and energy flow in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Beams of light danced across the hull, deflecting the scans harmlessly. The enemies adjusted, firing missiles and energy bursts, expecting the human pilot to panic. But the mechanic stayed calm. He had learned the rhythms of the ship, the way it responded to his touch. With a flick of a panel, he rerouted energy to shields in a pattern that no AI could predict, then fired a pulse that disabled one enemy ship's engines without destroying it. The aliens gasped. "What? How did they?" One whispered. Their calculations had failed. Their expectations had been wrong. The mechanic maneuvered the starship effortlessly. He turned, dodged, and countered with moves that seemed reckless, yet worked perfectly. The AI, impressed, remarked, "No algorithm could anticipate that. Humans think differently. Humans improvise." The battle continued, the hangar and nearby space illuminated by the glow of energy beams. The mechanic used every tool the ship had revealed to him: adaptive shields, energy pulses, holographic decoys, and rapid propulsion adjustments. Each move was instinctive, guided by his understanding of patterns, physics, and, most importantly, unpredictability. The alien fleet became increasingly frustrated. They had expected a human colony to be easy prey, their targets to be helpless and naive. Instead, the humans fought with ingenuity, exploiting the starship's capabilities in ways they could not calculate. They are thinking," one alien commander said, disbelief in his voice. "They are improvising. Calculations fail." Meanwhile, inside the starship, the mechanic noticed a small chamber had opened automatically. The AI guided him to it, Inside were controls for an ancient weapon system, unlike anything known in the galaxy. A device capable of manipulating energy streams and gravitational fields simultaneously. The weapon required intuition, judgment, and creative thinking, not calculations. "This is humanity's advantage," the AI said. "Use it wisely." The mechanic hesitated only a moment before engaging the system. He observed enemy patterns, tested small pulses, and adjusted in real time. The weapon worked flawlessly, disabling multiple enemy ships without killing their crews, proving humans could be effective, precise, and intelligent in battle. The alien commanders were now panicked. They had never faced an opponent who combined creativity, adaptability, and courage so seamlessly with advanced technology. Each move the human made broke their assumptions, shattered their strategies, and forced them to retreat in confusion. The mechanic realized something astonishing. Humans had been underestimated not because they were weak, but because their unpredictability was impossible to quantify. Logic alone could not explain human intuition, and the Starship had been built to amplify it. As the battle ended, the colony breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Starship hovered above the hangar, pulsing with life, its ancient systems glowing with pride, or perhaps recognition. The mechanic, exhausted but exhilarated, leaned back in the control chair. "You did well," the AI said. "The galaxy has seen the first sign of human potential. They will remember this day." The mechanic smiled, thinking about the note that had started it all. Only a human can awaken her. That simple message had led to a victory the galaxy had never expected. He understood now that humans were more than just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and unpredictable forces in a universe that often underestimated them. Even as the colony celebrated quietly, signals arrived from distant systems. Fleets and intelligence networks had detected the Starship's activation and the unexpected battle. The news spread quickly. Humans were not as weak as previously thought. They had awakened something ancient, something powerful, and demonstrated it with skill and courage. Some species began reconsidering their assumptions. Humans were no longer insignificant. Their ingenuity, creativity, and resilience had been proven in combat and strategy. The galaxy was waking up to the truth. Humans were capable of more than anyone had imagined. Inside the Starship, the AI prepared a map of other ancient vessels hidden across the galaxy, designed to awaken only for humans. "This is only the beginning," it said. "Many challenges await. Many discoveries remain. Humanity will shape the galaxy in ways even I cannot predict." The mechanic studied the map, feeling a sense of destiny. This battle had been just the first. The enemies who had tested them were only scouts compared to the larger threats hinted at in the ship's records. The ancient civilization that had built this starship had known that humans could face dangers that no one else could. They had left these vessels hidden, waiting for the right species to rise. The human smiled again, heart steady and mind sharp. He knew now that humanity's strength lay not in size, technology, or brute force. It lay in creativity, adaptability, and the courage to act when others hesitated. They were underestimated, yes, but that was their advantage. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The hangar lights reflected on the hull of the ancient starship, gleaming like a promise. The mechanic reached for the controls again, preparing to explore what the ship could do, to learn more, to push limits. Humanity had awakened a force the galaxy had never seen before, and they would not stop here. For the first time, the mechanic realized the full meaning of the AI's words. Only humans can face what comes next. Only humans can awaken her. And with that, the adventure was only beginning. The hangar was quiet again, but not in the same way as before. This quiet was different. It was the calm after the storm, the stillness that comes when something monumental has changed the balance of a galaxy. The starship hovered above the floor, its hull glowing with a soft, steady light. Panels shimmered with activity, yet it was a gentle hum now, as if the ancient vessel itself was proud of what had been achieved. The mechanic sat in the control chair, exhaustion tugging at his limbs, but his mind was alive with possibilities. The battle had proven one thing: humans were capable of greatness, of ingenuity that even advanced species could not predict. But he knew this was only the beginning. The AI spoke softly in his mind as if offering reassurance. "You have awakened more than me," it said. "You have awakened potential. Humanity will not go unnoticed again." He leaned back, thinking of the journey so far. What had started as a quiet curiosity, exploring a forgotten hangar and discovering an ancient starship, had turned into a demonstration of human resilience and intelligence. And now, the galaxy was watching. Outside the hangar, the first reports came in. Alien fleets previously confident in their superiority had been forced to retreat. Colonies that had ignored humanity were sending messages of caution, reconsidering their strategies and alliances. And within the colony, whispers of awe spread among humans who had never believed they could wield such power. The mechanic stood and walked around the control area, examining the panels that now responded to his touch with ease. The AI guided him to a newly revealed chamber deep within the ship, a library of sorts, filled with the knowledge of an ancient civilization. Holographic scrolls, diagrams, and records floated in the air, waiting to be interpreted. "This was left for humans," the AI said. "They foresaw that one day a species would rise to face challenges no one else could. That species is yours." He studied the records, realizing the truth. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their creativity and intuition could not be measured. Their strength was unpredictable. Their decisions could not be anticipated by rigid calculation. That unpredictability was a weapon the galaxy had ignored. Until now. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Signals arrived from distant systems. Fleets curious, observers cautious, all intrigued by the sudden rise of humanity. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans could be formidable not through brute force alone, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. The AI guided the mechanic to the starship's navigation system. Hidden within were coordinates of other ancient vessels, scattered across the galaxy, each waiting for a human to awaken them. The realization hit him. The ship he had discovered was not unique. It was part of a network, designed to empower humanity, to ensure that humans could face threats that no other species could. He tapped on the console, projecting the star map in the hangar. Lights blinked at distant systems, each one hiding a vessel of immense power and knowledge. "The galaxy has underestimated us for too long," he said softly. "It's time they learn what humans can do." The AI hummed in agreement. "The journey is just beginning. You will face choices, challenges, and threats that no human has encountered before. But you are ready. Humanity is ready." A sudden alert interrupted the quiet. Sensors detected movement near the colony's borders, a fleet approaching cautiously, unsure of what they had witnessed. The mechanic studied the patterns. They were advanced but rigid, predictable. He smiled. Humans had faced worse odds before. They had improvised, adapted, and overcome. He activated the starship's external systems, sending a message not in words, but in presence. Energy pulses lit the hangar, radiating outward, signaling power, intelligence, and intent. The approaching fleet paused, scanning the readings, reassessing their assumptions. Humanity had made its mark. Inside the ship, the AI shared further insight. Humans will be remembered. Your ingenuity, adaptability, and courage are unique. This starship and its network exist because they trusted humans to act when others could not. You will not fail. The mechanic nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He understood that the battle had been more than a test. It was a declaration. The galaxy had watched, and the underestimated humans had shown their potential. He returned to the hangar floor, observing the colony below. Humans went about their lives, unaware of the full significance of what had occurred, yet they were now part of something greater. The starship had awakened not just as a weapon, but as a symbol, a proof that humans were capable of shaping the future of the galaxy. He thought of the note that had started it all. Only a human can awaken her. The words no longer seemed mysterious. They were a prophecy, fulfilled through curiosity, courage, and intelligence. Humanity had proven that even in the face of ancient, powerful technology, they could rise to the occasion. Hours passed, and the mechanic explored the starship further. Hidden compartments revealed more systems, each more advanced than the last. Weapons that could manipulate energy and gravity, navigation arrays that could chart paths through dangerous sectors, and defensive systems that adapted to threats in real time. Each one required human creativity, improvisation, and intuition. Aliens could build machines, but humans could command them in ways that transcended programming. News arrived from neighboring colonies. They had witnessed the starship's activation and the humans' command. Messages of awe and respect began to circulate. Even rival species, those who had once dismissed humanity as insignificant, now paused to reconsider. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were innovators, strategists, and creators of possibilities no one else could foresee. The mechanic, feeling the weight of all this attention, decided to leave a note of his own inside the ship. Simple words, meant for the humans who would come after him. "We are capable of more than we know. Keep going.
Explore. Learn.
Face the galaxy. Humanity's path is only beginning." He placed the note carefully inside a compartment, knowing that one day another human would find it and awaken the starship again. The cycle would continue, each generation building on the last, demonstrating the limitless potential of humanity. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the hangar, the mechanic activated the starship's external propulsion systems for the first time. It lifted gently, hovering over the colony, casting a glow across the surrounding landscape. The human felt a surge of pride and purpose. Humanity had been underestimated, yes, but now they were seen, and they would never be overlooked again. The AI spoke softly, almost like a whisper. "The galaxy has learned the truth. Humans are unpredictable, inventive, and courageous. They are capable of shaping their destiny." The mechanic smiled. He knew the journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, enemies, and mysteries that even the ancient civilization that built the starship could not predict. But humans had a quality that no other species possessed fully: creativity combined with resilience, intuition combined with courage. That was enough. That was power. He glanced at the stars once more, heart steady. The hangar below seemed smaller now, the colony a stepping stone rather than the center of his world. The galaxy awaited. Humanity's time had come. And as he set the starship on a course beyond the colony, beyond known space, he felt a thrill of possibility. The ancient vessel responded instantly, adjusting its systems, aligning with the stars, ready for the journey. The AI spoke one final time, a mixture of pride and wonder in its tone. "Humans have awakened me, and in doing so they have awakened the potential of their species. The galaxy will never be the same." The mechanic nodded, eyes bright, heart racing. Humanity had proven itself. They had faced the unknown, mastered what others thought impossible, and awakened an ancient power designed to work only with them. The galaxy would watch, and this time they would see the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. Humans were capable of greatness beyond measure. The starship accelerated, leaving the colony behind, moving toward the stars, carrying the promise of humanity's legacy. Each system it passed, each fleet it encountered, would remember the day when humans first awakened something the galaxy had long forgotten: hope, ingenuity, and the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to be underestimated. And somewhere in the far reaches of the galaxy, other ancient starships awaited, silent and dormant. But now, the spark had been lit. Humans had begun to awaken the forgotten legacy of an extinct civilization, and nothing would ever stop them from claiming their place among the stars.
The mechanic leaned back in the control chair, smiling.
This was only the beginning. The stars stretched endlessly, and humanity stretched with them, limitless, inventive, and unstoppable.